Hey everyone, welcome to the Hobbit kitchen. Tonight I'm going to make an upside down linguiça and onion pizza. And if you didn't watch any of my videos earlier today, I made the sauce, the dough, all myself. Anyway, I'm going to flip you to the counter so you can see everything I'm going to do. So first thing I'm going to do is I've got half an onion left over from a project earlier. So I'm going to slice some thin strips. So this is going to be my first ever upside down pizza. I've never tried this before, but seems like something fun to do, and I love trying new foods. So, just gonna get what I need for onions here. That should be enough. Yeah, it's a good amount. Oh, big chunk out of there. Don't need that. And there, so just gonna leave these off to the side, and I'm gonna go to the fridge and get everything else out that I need. So I've left the dough in the fridge for now because I don't need it until the very end. But to start things off, I have some ground linguiça. I'll be using some of this. I've got shredded mozzarella cheese, my homemade pizza sauce, and some shredded Parmesan. So, first thing I'm going to do here is throw these gloves on so that I don't end up with linguiça grease and everything else all over my hands. I'm also going to spray the bottom just a little bit to make sure that nothing sticks when I go to flip it afterwards. The lighting is terrible tonight. Sorry about that. All right, just a light spray. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to add to the bottom is a little bit of this ground linguiça. I'm going to do a thin layer of this and then add the onions. I know most people do this with pepperoni and whatnot, but I like linguiça. I'm Portuguese. So that's what I'm doing. Either way, it's going to taste great. That's really all I care about. There, nice first layer here, nice and flat. All right. Next, I'll do my first layer of onions. I wanted red onions. I prefer red onions for this, but the farm ran out, and I could understand why, because the onions at the grocery store looked like shit. So, making do with some Vidalias tonight. That piece was too big. Those are too big. All right. A few more onions here. Okay, for the next layer, I am going to sprinkle some mozzarella cheese. Got a little clump there. Just nice even layers for everything. Now I'm going to do a little more linguiça. Yum. Okay. Now I'm going to do the rest of the mozzarella, and then I'm going to, yeah. And then I'm going to do the sauce and sprinkle some Parmesan. Actually, I'm going to add a few more onions to this too. Yada, yada, yada. All right, couple more, and then I can move on to the next layer. All right. Now, I made my own tomato sauce, pizza sauce for this little project, and it came out incredible. So I'm going to use that. Here it is right here. I just made this earlier today. Absolutely perfect. So I'm going to dollop this down and then use a frosting spreader to just make sure it spreads out evenly. Actually use a little bit more sauce. All right, that should be good. Okay. Now, put some shredded Parmesan. Once I add this, I'm going to move this off to the side for a minute, and I'll take my homemade pizza dough out of the fridge that I made earlier so that I can stretch that out for the top. All right. There we go. Nice, generous layer. Beautiful. I'm just going to move this out of the way, replace it with my pizza dough. This is a garlic and my homegrown purple basil. Hi, James. Very cute. All right, so I made this earlier. Got all sorts of goodness. Just going to give it a stretch here so that it's ready for the top of the upside down pizza. Look at all that beautiful homegrown purple basil in there. I would do this on the table normally, but I actually have some pans and knives on there right now that cannot go in the dishwasher. So they're drying, so this is what I gotta do. But it's okay, it works. All right. So I'm gonna head over to the pan now and move over here so I can get a good area to work with. So what you want to do with the upside down pizza is you want to put the dough on top, but you also want to push it down the sides of the pan a little bit. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to push a little sauce up because, hey, that shit happens. Thank you, Alexandra. Hi. So if you missed the beginning, this is my first ever upside down pizza, so I'm very excited, and it's filled with lots of linguiça and onions. All right, now that I've got the dough all pressed down and spread out here, I'm going to brush on a little bit of olive oil after I wash my hands and sprinkle some garlic powder. And I do have to move the camera a little bit to get at a pastry brush. All right. There, that's a bit of a better lighting here. All right, so I have just a small amount of olive oil, just to brush, just enough to brush the top. That way it gets nice and golden. No, actually, it's my homemade recipe, and it has my homegrown purple basil and a shit ton of chopped garlic in it. I also use honey instead of a pinch of sugar. Other than that, yeah, basically just pizza dough and what I felt like adding to it. I strive to be different. All right, that looks good. And the finishing touch, a little sprinkle of garlic powder, and I'm just now realizing that it's going to take a few extra minutes because I stupidly have not turned on the oven. So I'm going to preheat the oven to 400 degrees. And yeah, you'll unfortunately have to look at this delicious uncooked upside down pizza for a few minutes while the oven warms up. Tomorrow in the Hobbit kitchen, it's going to be another canning day, and I am going to be making carrot cake jam. So I'm very excited about that. I actually prepped a little bit today. I shredded up all the carrots I needed. Just doing a little cleanup while I wait here. Usually I am right on top of preheating my oven. I don't know what happened. The sounds of cleanup. Yeah. Wow, I'm glad it's not just me. This is actually a rare thing. I usually preheat the oven before I start working, but it's been a long day. I have done so much today. And if I can remember, as soon as this goes into the oven, because it's still daylight, I've made some changes to the Shire Garden solarium, and I will take this outside and show you that while this bakes. Got a little bit of a ways to go here. We're at about 117 degrees, 118 right now, so it's going to take a few. There's a nice close-up. As soon as the oven sings its little song, it'll be time for it to go in. For watching. Check my posts later on. I will post a picture of the completed upside down pizza. I bumped the camera again. Waiting, waiting, waiting. That's all I can do is wait. I forgot to turn the oven on. My only choice. There, we'll just watch the little oven temperature gauge tick up. You have to be patient. Good things come to those who wait. almost preheated. So I'll be able to put the upside down linguiça and onion pizza in just a few moments. I can't wait. Oh, there's that wonderful sound. All right, I am going to put the camera here. That way you can watch me throw it in the oven. Not that I'm going to throw it. Don't mind the little bit of, whoa, that's actually not a little bit of smoke. All right, I'm going to turn this down to 375 because, yeah. This is creating a bit of a burnt smell I'm not liking. And it's not letting me do it. What's the deal? All right. Bear with me a moment, folks. Okay, let's try this again. Apologies in advance if a smoke alarm goes off, which it very well might. I'm hoping the vent grabs all of it, but yeah. I guess next time I know. Use the larger oven when I'm doing things at a high temperature, because I don't have that problem in the lower oven. All right. This is going to bake now for, I'm going to start with 15 minutes because I am still learning the oven. So when the timer goes off, it'll be done. Alexa, set a timer for 15 minutes. That should be enough time. And what's the best oven timer? The smoke? Well, now I know. When I want to use high temperatures, I use the larger oven on the bottom. The little oven is for little stuff. Nope. Thankfully, I had the vent on. If I hadn't had the vent on, it would have gone off. But the vent is doing its job, so we're good. It's understandable. I've had the oven for, what, a month? I've used it a good amount, but I haven't done a lot of high temperature stuff. Ooh, little heart. Yeah, it's going to be a hot another 13 minutes and 40 seconds. But it should be an epic dinner. I'm waiting for the upside down linguiça and onion pizza to come out of the oven. I made the pizza sauce and the pizza dough from scratch this morning. The dough has homegrown purple basil and a shit ton of garlic. And my homemade pizza sauce has farm fresh tomatoes from a local Amish farm, and just a few herbs and spices and a little pinch of brown sugar to cut down on the tomato acid. So I'm just waiting. I've got 11 minutes and 40 seconds left on my timer before it's done. And I'm excited because it's my first ever upside down pizza, as I've said. I do, and thank you for reminding me. I'm just fixing a drink for my husband, and then I'm going to take you outside and show you the Shire Garden solarium, which is new. It just went up a few days ago, so my seedlings haven't sprouted yet, but I did make some changes today, and I added one of my plants from the garden in there to protect it. So let me just drop this off with hubby. There you go, darling. All right, while we wait for this, let's take a trip outside. Right after I open the door. Yes, you're welcome, honey. I'm glad you enjoy. All right, so this is my bird feeder that usually has a lot of birds on it. We're usually riddled with mourning doves. Their little bird bath. Oop, I just fell into one of the lawn holes. Some fencing because we just bought the house and my husband's going to finish the fence area for our driveway. But anyway, here is the newest addition. My husband built the platform and assembled my solarium for me so that I can grow vegetables all winter, because there's a lot of stuff you can grow in winter if it's protected. Okay. So, this is what I added from my garden today. This is a ground cherry, and it's covered in fruit, as you can see, and it's getting close to the point where they'll start dropping off and be ready for harvest. And I didn't want to risk leaving it out because we live in the woods and we have bears. So yeah. Anyway, part of my winter gardening, this bed here is filled with rows of rainbow carrots and then short and sweet carrots towards the middle half. And then over here, there are 2 tomato plants, well, seeds that I started. This bed, the back of it, I planted garlic. That won't come up until the spring and summer when it'll be ready to harvest. And then the front area of this bed has 4 broccoli seeds that I planted. And then over here, this is all potatoes. And one of my neighbor's dogs is barking, so please disregard that. And then outside of here, what's left of my garden, and this is why protected, because back there we have deer, we have bears, we have opossums we've seen at night, bobcats, you know. But up here is what's left of the Shire garden, and it's not the prettiest right now because it is August, but I don't sugarcoat things and I show everything as it is. So I've been talking about this for a few days. My summer squash and zucchini, they're done for the season. I did get a couple good harvests out of them. I've got some Cherokee purple tomatoes starting to ripen up on the vine here. These little babies here are a honeycomb hybrid variety. Got some Romas, and I cannot wait for the Romas. I'm very excited. More honeycomb hybrids. Can you tell I like cherry tomatoes? And then here as well, more honeycomb hybrids. I've already harvested and packed away and dried most of my basil for the season. And as you can see, my peas, they're pretty much done. The beans, we had a couple of robins that had a serious case of, we're just going to steal this. So I just picked the last 3 today and gave them to the bunnies. And this is blue dwarf curly kale. I'm going to harvest up what's good here tomorrow, and then I will clean out this bed. 2 of these little beds are actually going into the solarium. And I will be decorating this during the various holiday seasons, just for fun. They're not house bunnies, they're wild, so honestly, I don't know, but we have a huge family of them. There are so many babies, and then there's big parents. So I don't know what they are, but they're wild, and I've been talking to them every time I come out, so the babies don't run away now, and I can get a good 1.5 feet, 2 feet away from them without them freaking out. So that's been nice. The dog barking in the background is not nice, but you know, that happens. Still beats where we were before. Anyway, lots of singing songbirds. This is mint and geraniums, which are actually coming back to life now. I thought they were truly dead after all of the extreme heat that we had. But let's head back inside, check the timer. All right, we've got 3 minutes and 30 seconds left on the timer for the upside down pizza. So, yes, they are adorable, honey. All right. We've got a lot of deer, too. Just trying to, don't mind the brushing sounds. I'm trying to make sure I didn't bring a mosquito in with me. Those bites are brutal. We've got 57 seconds left on the timer. Woo-hoo! Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop the timer.
All right, I stopped your 15 minutes.
Okay, so in a few seconds, I am going to back the camera up, open up the oven, and see where this pizza's at. Back it up. See. Could use a few more minutes, but going well so far. So I'm just gonna give that a spin and I'll pop it back in. Timer for 7 minutes now because it wasn't quite done yet, so I gave it a good spin and now we're back to the waiting game. If anyone has any questions, now's a good time to ask. I am having so much fun. I hate waiting. I want my food now. Why isn't it ready? Oh, the mourning doves are back, at least a few of them. Combine the little strips. They prevent the birds from crashing because we were having a lot of incidents. But one of the mourning doves is here right now, as well as a little parade of birds on the feeder. Earlier today, we were actually heading out to grab some lunch, and we saw a white dove, which that was the first one we had seen out here. We usually have about 8 mourning doves on the lawn and everything else. I'm waiting to see if the bird population changes in the fall. I would love to see a hawk or something. Not that I haven't seen them before, but, you know, to see one up close would be incredible. Don't mind my table. All the dishes are clean. They're just drying there. All right. Got just under 5 minutes, and then it should be absolute perfection. Ever bit the beak off a bird? You ever been wide awake, blacked out? Okay, everyone, there's 2 minutes left on my timer. So I am going to take a peek because that was the second timer. So back this up. The last thing I want to do is burn it. I just want it to be nice and golden. And, oh yeah. Oh, that's good. All right, coming out. Okay, now for this next part, I'm not going to do it on camera exactly, totally, because I do need to focus a little bit to flip it. But I will show as much as I can, and obviously I'll show the completed item. I just got to grab some parchment.
Grab that part.
Wow. You're going to get me sued saying shit like that. Okay, so I am going to place the parchment over this first. And then the tray I'm going to flip it onto. All right, wish me luck. All right, I got to move this over to the counter so I can get it better adjusted here. Wow. This is not as easy as it looks. Still trying here. Alexa, stop. All right. I think I need something to lift this so that I can get a good grip on it. Oh dear. All right, well, I seem to be having a bit of a problem getting it out of the pan. Let's see what's going on here. See if I can hold up the pan and maybe drag my knife along. I did spray the pan first to prevent sticking, but somehow... All right, that's okay. We'll just switch it up a little bit. Let me bring it back over to the pot holder. Flip it back around. That's fine. I'll slice it as is. I'm not going to wrestle with it all night because honestly, I'm hungry and I want to eat. So I'm going to slice this and attempt to get a slice out of the pan. Need knife. I can't believe it's stuck, but I'm not really surprised, and my channel is always honest. When something doesn't work quite right, I still show it anyways, because otherwise it's just a bunch of fake BS, and nobody wants that. There's enough of that crap out there. Oh, it's kind of like a pizza cottage pie. Whoops. Kind of like I just threw a piece of pizza dough onto the floor. It's a shepherd's pie pizza. Yeah. Yeah, that seems about right. Hey, I don't care. It's going to taste good no matter what. Now, I got a plate, and I need to move the camera a little bit so that I can get at a spatula because I'm going to need some help since it wouldn't flip out of the pan. So. All right. Here we go. I know it's not the prettiest, but it smells absolutely incredible. So, I'll zoom in so you can see the inside of the pie. The smell is so, so wonderful. All right. That's all for tonight from the Hobbit Kitchen. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you all have a great night. I'll be back tomorrow making some delicious carrot cake jam.